What's going on, guys? My name is Mighty Duck, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I spent over a year in Minecraft Cobblemon catching every single Pokemon in the game. If you're unfamiliar with Cobblemon, allow me to introduce to you one of the best Pokemon experiences I've ever had. Cobblemon is an open source mod for Minecraft that seamlessly adds hundreds of Pokemon to the game. The mod also adds countless items including fossils, evolution stones, berries, held items, and much more. Though not every Pokemon is in the version I'm playing at the time of making this video, there are still over 600 Pokemon that you can encounter from across all 9 generations. Over the next 400 Minecraft days, you're going to see me catch, evolve, and battle every single Pokemon possible. And at the end of it all, I'm going to challenge and attempt to catch 5 of the strongest legendary Pokemon that will put my team to the test. Here's how it went. Spawning into my world for the first day of the challenge, I found myself with nothing to my name and an empty party of Pokemon. Right away, I met with my first order of business, picking my starter Pokemon. Some may find this to be a difficult decision, seeing as you're presented with the option to pick from every starter Pokemon in the history of the franchise. Fortunately, I knew the right answer and went with the best one, Chimchar. Once I had my Chimchar at my side, I made my way to the mainland and started off on our long adventure together. I found my way over to a village right near spawn to start looting and grabbing basic materials. Materials like coal, iron, and copper are all used for the basic Minecraft stuff like torches, smelting, better tools, and lightning rods? I don't really know what people use copper for. But in Cobblemon, iron, copper, and gold are necessary early on as they're needed to craft Pokeballs. Pokeballs are going to be an incredible luxury in the early days, as every Pokemon I run into at this point will be something I don't have. Also just as important for crafting Pokeballs are apricorns, which are found growing on apricorn trees. Lucky for me, I was able to grab a few white apricorns just outside the village, as well as my first apricorn sapling. This will allow me to start my own apricorn farm at some point in the future whenever I decide to. After adventuring around a little more, I grabbed my first medicinal leeks, which can be used to create Pokemon potions, and got into my first group of wild Pokemon battles. After defeating a handful of wild Pokemon and leveling up my Chimchar a little, I decided to sleep through the first night so I'd have a better idea of which direction to head in the morning. With the sun rising, I continued on my adventure and came across my first berry, a Persianberry. There are over 69 unique species of berry in the Cobblemon mod, all with unique purposes. The majority of them need to be farmed and mutated to obtain, but that's a little more detail than I'd like to get into this early on in the video, so I'll put that discussion on hold till later. Now would be a better time than any to go over the goals I have for myself within this challenge, as well as explain how I plan on going about completing some of them. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, my main goal is to catch every single Pokemon in the game, though this will not be a living dex challenge. Currently, the time I'm recording, there are 632 modeled Pokemon in the mod as of the Cobblemon 1.5 update, not including any alternate forms or variants. Since this total includes a few Pokemon that are unobtainable without the use of cheats or external data packs, I won't be catching all 632. This list of Pokemon includes Wishiwashi, Poipole and Naganadel, Iron Leaves and Walking Wake, Xerneas, and Mew. Though these Pokemon are available without using cheats in the Legendary Encounters data pack I'm using, the only legendary Pokemon I will be including in the total are the legendary Bird Trio, Mewtwo, and Rayquaza. So, subtracting the aforementioned 7 Pokemon from the previous total of 632, that brings us to a total of 625 Pokemon that I'll have to catch or evolve to complete the challenge. Along with catching all the Pokemon, I'm also aiming to farm all 7 colors of apricorn trees, as well as obtaining all 69 unique berry species. That's pretty much the bare minimum I'd like to accomplish as of the time I'm starting this challenge, and I'm probably getting myself in way over my head without realizing it, but hey, I'm going to try and complete everything in as little time as possible. If I were to hazard a guess right now, I'd say I expect this challenge to take me a little over 100 to 125 in-game Minecraft days, or roughly 40 real-time hours. I ended up encountering a wild Butterfree that I really wanted to catch, but since I didn't have any Pokeballs yet to do so, I figured it would be easy experience points for my Chimchar early on, and decided I'd just take it out. Yeah, that did not happen. With Butterfree putting my Chimchar on the verge of fainting, I looked into crafting a healing machine. This would allow me to heal my Pokemon if they ever got low on HP or fainted, and that's when I came across what would be my first largest hurdle. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to go about obtaining a gas tier, seeing as hostile mobs are turned off, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I also looked at the recipe for crafting revives and realized I needed honey bottles. After checking the wiki, I saw that they dropped from Wild Combi, which happened to be in my vicinity, so I grabbed a few from them. This is around the time when I realized I could also punch Pokemon to death for their drops, which I felt incredibly guilty about and decided I would not be doing that again. I feel like they at least stand a chance if I battle them. I don't know. After coming to the end of the mainland and sailing for a little while, I found another shoreline with a massive village and a castle-like structure at the center of it. I looked around the village for any unique loot and came across some amethyst shards. These will be needed to craft an experience share later on, which will make leveling my party a whole lot easier. I also found a bundle, which is great because it will allow me to store up to 64 additional items in my inventory. On day 3, I got my Chimchar to level 14, which allowed me to evolve it into Monferno, bringing our total number of Pokemon through 3 days to 2. In the castle courtyard, I found a chest with 16 obsidian, which seems like an absurd amount to find in one chest, but now I'll be able to go to the nether whenever I decide and not have to worry about making a diamond pickaxe. I picked one of the houses in the villages to use as a temporary storage room and emptied my inventory so that I could go out exploring again. Using 4 of the white apricorns I found on day 1, along with a copper ingot, I was able to craft my first Pokeballs of the world, which means I can finally start trying to catch some Pokemon. Immediately, I started a battle with a wild Pidgey and was able to catch my first Pokemon, bringing my total to 3 out of 625. I also forgot until this point that you can now name your Pokemon, so I gave my Chimchar the nickname Nubs. The nickname I gave my first ever Pokemon way back in 2006. I don't know why I chose that nickname, but I'm sticking with it. Later on, I tried capturing a wild Joltik, but ended up just wasting some of my Pokeballs. On day 4, I came across another ruin with some new items in it, and after wandering around a little more, I came across a very interesting Pokemon. What are the odds I can actually catch this thing, then? Let's go! After catching the wild Eevee to bring my total to 4 Pokemon, I just kept exploring, hoping to find more apricorn trees and apricorn saplings, but was only able to obtain the apricorns themselves. I saw a bunch of cool Pokemon while wandering around, before having my team wiped by a wild Heracross I for whatever reason thought I could take on. Hoping to start day 5 off on a better foot, I lost a battle to a wild Magikarp. Oh, it does have tackle! But afterwards, I found some Oran berries, a few Ultra Balls in another ruin, and managed to get a green apricorn sapling to make up for it. Later on, I managed to catch a wild Mareep, which I then evolved into Flaffy to bring my total to 6 Pokemon. I also saw a wild Ampharos I could have used to complete the evolution line, but decided it was probably a bit too strong for me to try to catch right now. I liked the field area I was in, so I decided to set up a small base before making my way back to the temporary home to grab the remainder of my belongings. I came across a lush cave, which I marked for later, and was able to find 3 more apricorn trees, but sadly, they gave me no saplings. I battled with another Heracross, which I was able to catch this time, and brought my total to 7 Pokemon before making it back to the village and sleeping away the night for one final time. Waking up on day 7, I realized an entire in-game week was about to have gone by, and I still hadn't done much of anything other than explore to this point. With over 600 Pokemon still needing to be caught, I knew I had my work cut out for me. While I was making my way back to the base I'd set up, I was able to grab a yellow apricorn sapling as well as a black apricorn sapling before running into my first Gimmighoul tower. Gimmighoul and its coinciding towers and ruins are something pulled from the recent Scarlet and Violet Pokemon games. Gimmighoul is a Pokemon that when you give it 999 relic coins is able to evolve into Goldengo. Gimmighoul spawns on top of Gimmighoul towers in Gimmighoul chests, as well as in other Gimmighoul ruin areas that generate randomly throughout the world. You can collect relic coins by defeating wild Gimmighoul, from digging in suspicious gravel near Gimmighoul structures, as well as just find them in gilded chests. Unfortunately, Goldengo doesn't spawn naturally in any way, so I'm going to need to collect 999 relic coins to be able to complete the challenge and add Goldengo to the total. I'm not going to highlight every single time I collect a coin, as that would take up too much time in the video, but I'll do my best to address it whenever I come across any. I came across a bunch of new Pokemon on my journey back, but one Pokemon in particular caught my eye when it showed up on the map. Yo, is that what I think it is? Is that what I think it is? Let's go! A Torchic! Please. I don't have any more wood on me. Let's go! After adding the second best firefighting starter to my party, I evolved it into Combuskin, bringing my total to 9 Pokemon. What's even crazier about this encounter is I found another one just a few minutes later. Once I eventually made my way back to my new home, I was able to catch a wild Drifloon before the days switched over. The next day, I cleared away some of the tall grass in the area with a water bucket, laid out some chests for storage, trained up nubs a little more, and planted my first apricorn trees. I came across a wild ditto, which I caught, and looked up how to make a PC so that I could access my Pokemon storage. On day 10, I decided to make my way down into some caves to mine more ores. I managed to find some diamonds while I was down there, as well as some new cave biomes introduced with the Terralith biome mod. I saw a bunch of new Pokemon while I was down there, along with a Gibble that showed up on the map, but unfortunately I was unable to find it before it despawned. I mined more diamonds before making my way back to the surface, where I caught a Miltank as well as a glitched out Mudbray. Wait a minute. Is this... Time out. Is that a shiny Mudbray? Give me that. Is that a shiny... It is a shiny! Oh my god! On day 11, I caught a Magikarp before finding more berries I didn't have. I came across a new village where I found a pink apricorn sapling, my first Vivichoke seeds, as well as some Ultra and Great Balls before catching a Growlithe to bring my total to 15 Pokemon. I later caught a Teddiursa and a Galarian Farfetch'd before leveling up Nubs and Combuskin so that I could evolve them into Infernape and Blaziken, bringing my total at the end of day 12 to 19 Pokemon. On day 13, I found out that Gas Tears have a chance to drop from the Gengar line, but only if they're defeated in the Nether. And since I needed a Gas Tear to craft a healing machine, I decided it was time to build a Nether portal with the obsidian I found on day 3. But I didn't have any flint to light it, so I had to hold off for a little while longer. In the meantime, I caught a Licky Licky, as well as an Ampharos, which I added to my party, and taught Thunderwave to make catching Pokemon a whole lot easier. Afterwards, I finally got around to finding some flint to craft flint and steel and lit the Nether portal. I realized I didn't have a great answer to any fire-type Pokemon I would more than likely come across once I was inside, so I evolved my Magikarp into a Gyarados so I'd have a strong water-type option. Nice. Once inside the Nether, I looked around a little bit before briefly making my way back to the overworld where I caught a Lickitung and then continued on inside the Nether. I caught a Magby and a Numel and battled a wild Darmanitan on day 14. I also caught an Ursaring, a Darumaka, and a Misdreavus to bring my total to 28 Pokemon. After leaving the Nether, I took a look at all the recent Pokemon I had obtained and realized just how much work I had ahead of me if I wanted to complete the Pokedex. Having to travel back and forth on foot between points of interest alone had taken at least an hour of the almost 5 hours I'd been recording to this point, so I decided I would do something to make the travel a little less tedious. I caught a Pidgeot. With Pidgeot now in my party, I'll not only be able to get around faster, but I won't have to waste any hunger doing so. After flying around on Pidgeot for a little bit, I caught a Tauros and a Ponyta, and later came across our third starter Pokemon of the challenge. Oh my god! There you are. Hello. Oh, there we go. With Squirtle on my team, and at a high enough level, I was able to immediately evolve it into a Wartortle, bringing my total at the end of day 15 to 33 Pokemon. Once I crafted more Ultra Balls, I made my way back into the Nether with a few goals in mind. Catch more new Pokemon, find another fortress, and get a Gas Tier from a Ghastly. Thankfully, I was able to do all three. Through battling a handful of Ghastly, I was able to get one to drop a tier, which meant I could finally build a healing machine. I was also able to find another fortress after flying around a little bit, where I found some Pokemon vitamins, malicious armor, and some Charcadet which inhabited the fortress. I caught 2 Charcadet, thinking I would need 2 to evolve into each of their respective forms, but came across an Armarouge which I was able to catch. While still in the Nether, I caught a Cubone, a Magmar, and a Torkoal to bring my total to 38 Pokemon. Making my way back to the Nether portal, I came across an interesting structure. Oh, I know what this is. This is a Moltres shrine. We'll be coming back here towards the end of the video. Just before leaving the Nether, I caught a wild Gengar and also managed to get some Blaze Powder off a wild Magmar, which is great because I'll need quite a bit to be able to go to the end later on, as well as for fueling potion stands. After making it back to the overworld, I managed to collect 4 Gas Tiers during my trip, which meant not only was I finally able to craft a healing machine, I'd be able to have multiple healing machines in different locations if I ever decided to set up multiple bases. I wanted to start leveling all of my Pokemon in my party evenly, so I decided to start gathering the materials to make some EXP shares. Before the day ended, I also caught a Donphan and an Elekid and defeated a wild Stonjourner which had a really cool fainting animation. On day 19, I remembered I could name my Pokemon, so I gave all the Pokemon in my party nicknames. It's gonna be Zephyr. Oh yeah. Mundungus. Kinda looks like a Hermes right now with those. Yeah, we're gonna go Hermes with those wings. He's got that fire on his wrists, eh? You could call him Rolex. That's a female. We're gonna name her name Jasmine, like from Gen 2. Yeah, we're gonna name you Jasmine. After I'd finished naming my Pokemon, I took off on Zephyr to start looking for some fossil dig sites. I knew they were going to be a bit of a challenge to find, and seeing as there are 15 different fossil Pokemon, I wanted to at least know what type of structures I'd be looking for. Fossils are a new feature in Cobblemon and the main addition within the 1.5 Cobblemon update. This update added Pokemon-themed archaeology, including the entire lineup of fossil Pokemon from the main series Pokemon games, fossil restoration machines, as well as unique fossil dig sites that are hidden throughout your Minecraft world. These fossil structures contain suspicious sand or gravel that you can use a brush on to retrieve unique items such as fossils that can be revived with the fossil restoration machine. Each fossil has a specific structure or dig site that it can always be found in, but each unique structure also has the chance to spawn an additional one from a smaller pool of fossils. It's not always guaranteed you find a second or third fossil, but it can happen. It took me far too long to figure out that each site only spawned certain fossils, and knowing this far earlier than I did would have saved me a ton of time spent digging in the same types of structures over and over again. While I was out looking, I ended up finding a red apricorn sapling, I caught a Nidoran male, and also found a blue apricorn sapling, which is the last of the 7 different types I needed. I finally found my first fossil structure where I was able to obtain my first fossil, a fossilized bird. We got a fossil. A bird. After digging around a while for fossils, I was also able to add another Eevee to my collection before the day ended. Just don't look. Don't look. See? See? Just gotta not care. Day 20 was around the time I decided I was really going to start making a dent in the total of Pokemon caught. I caught a Bouffalant, Chespin, Lechonk, Baniri, Bunnelby, Butterfree, and Elamise before finding another Torchic and another fossilized bird. The next day, I continued adding a ton of Pokemon by catching an Onix, Zubat, Aeron, Galvantula, Buizel, and Mousehold to bring my total to 55 Pokemon before adding yet another Eevee to my PC. On day 22, I got around to crafting and building the Fossil Resurrection Machine, which consists of 3 different parts: the Data Analyzer, the Data Monitor, and the Restoration Tank. You need to fill the Restoration Tank with organic material to a value of 64 before it will start the process, and this can be done with seeds, vegetables, berries, and even revives and max revives. I tried reviving my fossilized bird fossil, thinking it was an Archon, but then I remembered that it was part of the Galar fossil quartet, which meant I needed another fossil to pair with it in order for it to work. I was later able to craft an EXP share on this day, as well as catch a Drifblim, Stonjourner, Kricketune, Pachirisu, Hoot Hoot, and a Spinarak, as well as evolve Cubone into Marowak. Over the next few days, I also added a Shedinja, Zorua, Fletchling, Cyndaquil, Vespiquen, Blastoise, Nosepass, Wooper, Chatot, and a Bellsprout to bring me to 72 Pokemon. I also found a lush cave where I was able to grab some revival herbs and pep-up flowers, which can be farmed and used for brewing potions and other assorted vitamins. I spent the next couple of days exploring the world a lot more and was able to catch a Weepinbell, Gloom, Caterpie, Aipom, Makuhita, Joltik, Dugtrio, Munchlax, Execute, Krabby, Sandslash, Hippopotas, Cacnea, and a Golem to bring my total to 86. After looking around the warm ocean biome and desert I had found, I came across another Gimmighoul tower where I set off a TNT trap. The hell? Up until this point, I had no clue traps were a thing, and spoiler alert, I find out they are again later. I also caught a Gimmighoul, Sandile, and Horsea to bump my total again by 3. I was also able to find link cables, which are incredibly important. These weren't my first ones, but they're the first time I'm talking about them. The link cable is a one-time use item that developers implemented that allows trade evolution Pokemon to evolve without actually needing to be traded. And since I'm not playing with any friends, I'm not able to trade Pokemon with anyone for trade evolutions, so these will definitely come in handy later on. Near the village, I caught a Granbull, Mabostiff, and Voltorb before finding an old mine shaft where I was able to catch a Clink as well to bring my total to 93. While down in the caves, I came across a ruined structure I hadn't seen yet. There was a bunch of suspicious gravel on the surface that had things like Gimmighoul coins, type gems, evolution and held items, pottery shards, and other assorted random things buried inside. After making my way to the surface, I caught a Copperajah, which was very, very large, a Pikachu, as well as a Slowbro to bring me to 96. I came across another Gimmighoul tower where I grabbed more coins, found a shiny stone, and also caught a Honedge. On day 30, I continued looting all the towers and villages I came across for coins and other useful things. I found a bunch of items buried in suspicious gravel, battled wild Pokemon for XP, and I caught a Weedle. The next day, I found a waystone in a village, which I took to place in a cold ocean biome I found because I knew I'd be spending a bit of time there looking for Pokemon soon. Before making my way home, I caught a Comfey and a Gibble, which I was really excited about, not only because I missed the last one that spawned, but because it was my 100th Pokemon. I also later caught a Honchkrow to boost my total to 101. Upon making it back to my farm base on day 32, I decided I was going to evolve a bunch of Pokemon. During this spree of evolutions, I was able to obtain a Diggersby, Floatzel, Quilava, Electabuzz, Rapidash, Nidorino, Fletchinder, Oinkologne, Quilladin, Cacturne, Electrode, Krokorok, Gabite, Kakuna, and Beedrill to raise my total Pokemon caught to 116. After evolving all the Pokemon I could, I emptied my inventory and organized my chests, crafted another EXP share, and caught a wild Dreepy. At the end of the day, I placed a Waystone at my Apricorn farm base, so I had a place to fast travel back to if I ended up placing more Waystones somewhere during my journeys. The next day, I started leveling up Quilladin and Gabite and caught a Jigglypuff and Pidgeotto. I also caught a Plusle, Tailo, Oddish, Shroomish, Slowpoke, and Sentret before evolving my Shroomish into Breloom and catching a Vulpix the next day to bring my total to 127. On day 35, I expanded my Apricorn farm and took the Waystone back to the Cold Ocean outpost to start looking for some more rare Pokemon. Right away, I caught a Dragalge and evolved Quilladin into Chestnut. I also caught a Carvanha and Citadel before coming across one of the Pokemon I came to the Cold Ocean to find.
Nice.
I then caught a Cubchoo, Starmie, Jellicent, Dugong, and an Ice-Q. The next day, I also caught an Avalugg, Cloyster, Overquill, and Sharpedo before the rarest Pokemon I could find in this biome spawned.
Come on, connect.
Oh my god, wait. Where are you? There you are. After catching the Piplup, I also added a Bergmite, Primplup, Pyukumuku, Frillish, Staryu, Tentacruel, Tentacool, Empoleon, Quillfish, Barraskewda, and Arrokuda before leaving the Cold Ocean biome with a total of 148 Pokemon. Exploring more of the mainland, I caught a Starly and Staravia, a Stantler and a Wordeer, Fortress, Pineco, Beartic, Bibarel, and a Seedot. Heading into the snowy taiga, I caught myself a Swinub and a Piloswine, evolved Fletchinder and a Talonflame, caught Corvisquire, Lanoon, and a Rookidee. I later came across another ruin structure where I found more coins, a Thunderstone, a rare candy, and some Tumblestones before evolving Piloswine into Mamoswine and catching a Tinkatink to bring my total for the day to 170.
Look at the size of them.
The following day, I caught an Emolga, finally evolved my Gabite Skitty into Garchomp, and also caught a Tinkatuff. After flying around for a little bit, I found myself an Obstagoon that I caught and made my way into a dark forest where I came across a strange NPC I hadn't seen yet.
What is this? Who are you? Shady villager.
While in the dark forest, I also caught a Paris, Venonat, Venipede, Morlul, Golisopod, Impidimp, and Phantump to bring my total number of Pokemon caught to 181. On day 41, I harvested some apricorns to make more Ultra Balls for a better catch rate before catching a Furret, Minun, Watchog, and a Pichu. I then decided I was going to start looking for a jungle to hunt more rare Pokemon in, as there are quite a few that need to be found there. This was when I really started to see the number of caught Pokemon increase, so the next bulk of days are going to mainly consist of catching Pokemon, as I really wanted to start making a dent in the total. Before making my way to the jungle, I caught a Seaking in the river just beside my apricorn farm to bump my total by 1. Finally, I decided it was time to go find a jungle in which I'd assumed I'd be spending quite a bit of time in, but let me tell you, that was a major understatement. Once I found a jungle biome I liked, I caught an Ambipom and a Primeape and set up an outpost in the treetops. Getting started with the horde of Pokemon I ended up catching here, I caught an Ariados, a Shroodle, Tangela, and Tangrowth, a Squawkabilly, Metapod, Pidove, Sneasler, Doduo, Swoobat, Woobat, and a Grafaiai to get me to 200 Pokemon.
Holy.
Just under a third of the way there, but it seems like at this point, every time I spend a bit of time in a new biome, I can add a large number of uncaught Pokemon to my collection, which is great news for me. On day 44, I managed to get one of the rare starters that spawn in the jungle to appear.
A Thwacky. A Grookey? Grookey. Grookey. A Grookey. A Grookey. Oh, there you are. Look at it. It's adorable.
After catching Grookey, I also caught a Bounsweet, Lilligant, Steenay, Spinda, Tyrogue, Sneasel, Unpheasant, and Durant before stumbling into a massive lush cave biome where I caught a Shinotic, Nincada, Barrowseed, Shuckle, Poliwhirl, Quagsire, Geodude, Poliwag, Mawile, a Whismur, and a Graveler to boost my total to 220. After finding myself back in the jungle, I noticed a weird eroded pillar sticking out from the ground across the river, so I went to check it out. I found some suspicious gravel inside, but didn't find anything spectacular like I had hoped. Here, I was able to catch a Sizzlipede, Sandshrew, Xatu, Natu, Knackley, and Dwebble. I had a weird feeling about the pillar I had already tried excavating, so I went back again, and to my surprise... A fossil! Please don't be junk. A jaw fossil. What is that? What is that? Baby, here we go. Now we're cooking. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Oh. Helix fossil. I also caught a Spearow and Fearow, Maractus, Centiscorch, Arbok, and Knacklestack to bring my total at the end of the day 47 to 232. On day 48, I found my way to a beautiful clear blue ocean where I came to a small little island where I saw another Lapras and caught a Wingull. I later found myself in another brushland biome where I caught a Dodrio, Phanpy, Stuffle, Flittle, and Igglybuff before making my way back to the jungle outpost where I evolved Wingull into Pelipper for a total of 239 Pokemon. After that, I traveled back to the Apricorn farm where I started the revival process for my first fossil of the world, the Helix fossil. The process takes roughly 12 minutes, so while I was waiting for the Almanite to revive, I caught a Volbeat and a Goldeen, defeated a Ponyta which dropped some Blaze Powder, I picked some Apricorns and caught a Swellow before Almanite was ready to be added to the party. After clearing the restoration tank, I started reviving the Jaw fossil I had obtained, then I caught a Dubwool and Tandemaus before running into my second shiny Pokemon of the world. Yo! Why did... Oh my god! It's a shiny! Why did that not register right away? Oh my god. I then caught a Nickit and a Spupa to bring my total at the end of day 50 to 247 Pokemon. On day 51, I caught a Mudsdale instead of evolving my shiny Mudbray for whatever reason. I grabbed Tyrant once it was finished reviving, caught a Nuzleaf and a Noctowl before making my way to a swamp biome where I was able to catch a Barboach, Nidorino, and Meowth, where soon after I found another starter Pokemon I didn't have. Or a Weezing, or a Snubbull, or a Mudkip! I see a Mudkip. I see a Mudkip. There it is. There it is. Look at it. Hello? Hey. Beautiful. After catching Mudkip, I found another village off the edge of the swamp where I was able to catch a Drowsy, a Timber, Klefki, Lillipup, Kangaskhan, Persian, and Yamper. Astute up. What are you doing in here, huh? Sorry, man. Yay. I'll leave you be. Get the... In the village, I also picked up another link cable before catching a Carnivine, a female Nidoran, Machop, Lopunny, Surskit, Mankey, Rattata, Poochyena, Cuffent, Lotad, Coughing, Mime Jr., Fido, and Snubbull to boost my total all the way up to 276 Pokemon. Making my way back to the mangrove swamp, I bumped into a Psyduck swimming around in the river, which I thought was really cute. After catching the Psyduck, I also caught a Golduck, Rhyhorn, and evolved Mudkip into Marshtomp back at the Apricorn farm. At the end of day 53, I was looking at the map and noticed I could see some nature mints in the meadow biomes if I zoomed in enough. I decided to go grab some of those because I hadn't really obtained any of them to this point. After making my way to the meadow, where I got completely distracted by a bunch of new Pokemon, I immediately forgot why I was there. I caught a Cutiefly, Staraptor, Badoo, Ralts, Lurantis, Raticate on day 54 before evolving my Marshtomp into Swampert and catching a Fomantis on day 55 to bring my total to 288. Later on, I wound up in another jungle where I found my first jungle temple. After looting the temple, I caught a Beware and found a jungle Gimmighoul tower where I was able to grab more Gimmighoul coins and pottery shards as well as catch a Doublade. I ended up finding a village with a Pokemon Center in a meadow below a mountain, so I spent some time checking that out before catching a Zigzagoon and a Bidoof. There wasn't much I was doing other than catching Pokemon at this point in my recording, so I was trying to cover as much ground as possible to find new and unique areas where I could either find more Pokemon or start a build project. I caught a Crobat, an Annihilape, a Deerling, and a Machoke before coming across another starter Pokemon I'd yet to catch.
Awesome.
I continued heading further north, checking out different biomes and landscapes, looking for somewhere to build a proper home base. While I was looking, I did however catch a crabrawler on a beach somewhere. Shortly after that, I found a nice forest area with a river leading out to a beach on an ocean. I didn't know it at the time, but this area would eventually become the place where I would build my Pokemon lab. I continued flying around the area on Zephyr and found a map that led me to some buried treasure where I would also catch a Kingler soon after. Day 60 is where things kind of took a little bit of a turn. I ended up finding another village where I caught a Daxbun, which was also my 300th Pokemon. Right after, I came across something I hadn't seen before.
What the? Here we go. Whatever this is. Well, time to start clicking stuff. What? What just happened? What the hell is that? What is this? This isn't Cobblemon. Healer Village? I don't think this is Cobblemon. I think we're gonna just disregard this. I have no clue what's going on.
On the floating island village thing, I caught a Roselia and a Bonsly to bring my total to 302 Pokemon. I also saw a Larvitar, but was unable to find it before it despawned, which sucks because it's a very rare spawn that I won't end up finding till a lot further down the road. Below the floating sky village, I found another one of those beacon shrines, like the one that I found in the Nether Wastes back on day 17. After taking the Waystone back to the Apricorn farm, I built another PC to place next to my outpost. I caught a Floette, picked up more Blaze Powder from a Ponyta, and also found another Eevee while walking around and training up my party Pokemon. I decided next I was going to spend a bit of time gathering Blaze Powder in the Nether. I found out some Pokemon have an increased chance of dropping it in there, as well as having an overall higher spawn frequency, so in I went. I was able to grab some Blaze Powder off of a Magby while looking for rare spawns, specifically Charmander. While doing this, I was able to catch Magcargo, Gligar, Camerupt, and Turtonator. With no luck finding a Charmander, I checked the Cobblemon wiki and saw that they spawn in the Basalt Delta biome, so I decided to look for one and set up another outpost while I was there. After finding a good open area to settle down, I caught a Slugma and started to clear out some of the walls there so I was more space for Pokemon to spawn. Unfortunately, while doing this, I got a little too comfortable mining around lava and I paid the price for it.
Oh my god, I'm dead. I'm dead. Oh my god.
I made my way back to the Nether where I had died and found most of my items had been burned up by the lava, including, but not limited to, all the Pokeballs I had on me, my Pokedex, which until this point I had been using to track all the Pokemon I had caught, as well as all of my tools. Since I had lost all my Pokeballs, I needed to go back underground to mine some gold so I could make more, where I found a wild Probopass to bring me to 309 Pokemon. After replacing my Pokeballs, tools, and every other item I had been carrying on me, I decided maybe to stay out of the Nether for a little bit and went back to the jungle to hunt the remaining starter Pokemon I'd yet to find. But I was disappointed when I found just another Grookey instead.
You gotta be kidding me, man.
This would be a great time to address a very important and constantly relevant topic within this challenge: spawn buckets, specifically the ultra rare spawn buckets. Now, what is a spawn bucket? Essentially, every single Pokemon belongs to one of 4 spawn buckets: common, uncommon, rare, and ultra rare. When the game goes to spawn a Pokemon in the world, it randomly selects one of the 4 spawn buckets to spawn a Pokemon from. It then randomly selects one Pokemon from the pool of Pokemon within that spawn bucket and spawns that Pokemon into the game. As you can probably assume, when the game rolls for these spawn buckets through RNG, you'd have a much higher chance of running into common Pokemon than you would in uncommon Pokemon, and so on and so forth. But what are those chances, you may ask? When the game decides it's time to spawn a Pokemon, you have a 95% chance of it being a Pokemon from the common bucket, 4% chance for it being from the uncommon bucket, a 0.9% chance at a Pokemon from the rare bucket, and a whopping 0.1% chance at a Pokemon from the ultra rare bucket, or a 1 in 1,000 chance. These chances may or may not vary slightly. I couldn't confirm these odds for sure, but those are the percentages I've seen posted on many online forums and in comment sections, and let me tell you, they feel real. As I mentioned, we're going to need to catch the remaining starter Pokemon as well as a bunch of pseudo-legendary Pokemon to complete this challenge, all of whom fall under the ultra rare bucket. Because of course they do. You want to know what makes it even better? Remember how I mentioned that multiple Pokemon can belong to a spawn bucket? Well, most of these ultra rare Pokemon aren't the only ultra rare Pokemon within their respective buckets. This means you're not guaranteed to get the ultra rare Pokemon you're looking for, even if you get lucky and the game rolls for the 0.1% ultra rare bucket. So, the more ultra rare Pokemon in a biome spawn bucket, the worse the odds become for every Pokemon within said bucket. For example, if there are, say, 4 ultra-rare Pokemon in the same spawn bucket, your odds go from 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 4,000, or a 0.025% chance. Yeah, that's not great. But hey, if it was easy, everyone would be doing this. These ultra-rare Pokemon are going to be by far the hardest and most difficult to obtain Pokemon within this challenge. In most cases, they share spawn buckets with each other. The biggest offender of all being the jungle biome ultra rare spawns, in which there are 6 different first stage starter Pokemon sharing a spawn bucket. Not to mention Jangmo-o, which can only be caught here as well. In most of the jungle starter cases, they each have a roughly 12% chance of spawning. However, that is only when the game rolls for a 0.1% ultra rare spawn, meaning each of those Pokemon has, I believe, a 0.012% chance of spawning. Yeah, okay. I'm sure this won't put any unnecessary strain on my mental health at all. Hopefully that wasn't too much information all in one go, but I think it's important to explain as it's the reason this challenge becomes frustrating for me in a little bit. But we'll get there. Don't worry. After spending a bit of time in the jungle, I found a Scyther, a Pokemon I had been wanting to add to my team for a long time. To my surprise, it had been a little more difficult to find than I had anticipated, which is slightly concerning considering it belongs to the rare spawn bucket. As excited as I was to catch Scyther, it's really its evolution that I was after, which I managed to get that same day. By crafting and using a metal coat and then a link cable, I was able to evolve my newly caught Scyther into Scizor, or as he will be known for from now on, Octavian. With Octavian added to my party, I made my way back to the jungle to continue on with my mission. Over the next few days, I managed to catch a Tropius, Patrat, Scatterbug, and a Komala to bring my total to 315 Pokemon, putting me just past the halfway point of this challenge.
Beautiful.
Later that day, while I was scouring the jungle for any Pokemon I didn't have, preferably a Trico or Bulbasaur, I noticed a strange sprite appear on my minimap.
What is that? What? Hold on a minute. No way. Hold on. What? Oh god, this thing's about to destroy my entire team. What the heck? Oh my god! Oh god, this is not good. This is not good. Dude, I don't know what to use. I don't know what to hit this thing with. Jirachi. It's not gonna happen. Octavian's hurt. I didn't heal before coming out here because I'm an idiot. Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Jirachi is a mythical Pokemon that is not currently in the base mod of Cobblemon and is only obtainable if you have the Legendary Encounters mod installed, which, as I mentioned, I do. As I stated with my goals earlier in this video, I'm only going after Pokemon that are currently modeled, and seeing as this one clearly does not have a sprite to go with it, unfortunately it does not count towards the total, but it's still a really cool find. The next day, my rare spawn luck continued, though I'm not sure I'd actually consider myself lucky with this one.
No, man, are you serious? Dude, that's not...
Because Grovyle is the second stage of its line, it means I still need to find its first stage, Trico. It's frustrating because it felt like I had been searching forever to this point for any of the 7 ultra-rare jungle spawns and had only found one of them so far. Well, technically I have 2, I forgot Chimchar counted as one, and I obviously already have it. In the coming days, I was able to catch a Basculin, Rhydon, Cottony, Chingling, Lunatone, Petalil, Wooloo, Ninjask, Ghastly, Flabebe, Diglett, Heatmore, and a Cleffa. I also evolved my Grovyle into Sceptile to bring my total to 330 Pokemon. On day 71, I caught a Corviknight, which was way bigger than I thought it would be.
Look at the size of it.
Soon after, while flying around on Zephyr's back, I had another accident.
Whoa! Oh my god.
Thankfully, this time I was able to get all my belongings back. I returned to my apricorn farm where I made more Pokeballs before heading back into the jungle. While I was there, I caught a Vivillon, Whimsicott, Gossifleur, Eldegoss, and Executor to bring me to 336 Pokemon on day 72. I had spent a bunch of time in the jungle and caught a bunch of Pokemon, but the Pokemon that I really wanted to find hadn't shown their face. Thankfully, the next day, the waiting around had finally paid off.
Oh my god. Would you look at that? Okay. Beautiful.
With catastrophe avoided, I managed to catch the Trico, meaning there are only 4 more ultra-rare jungle spawns that I still have to catch. Bulbasaur, Snivy, Litten, and Jangmo-o. Surely since I've already managed to obtain almost half of them in just over 70 Minecraft days, this won't take much longer. Not like it's going to take me another 100 days to get the remaining 4, right? Later on in the day, I decided it was time to become proactive. I caught a Tranquil and a Masquerain, collected more Ender Pearls off of a wild Kadabra, went to the Nether and repaired the lava leak that killed me before, and also decided it was finally time to start building a Pokemon laboratory somewhere. I leveled my Pokemon a little more, gathered a bunch of resources to bring with me to my new lab outpost, and set out to find a place I would do that. I wanted to build my lab in a forest near a river, since there were rare Pokemon I still needed to catch in both biomes, so my idea was that I could build something at the same time I was waiting for those Pokemon to spawn. On the way to my new base area, I caught a Solrock and a Sawsbuck to bring my total to 341. I also managed to find a root fossil in a fossil structure in a swamp, which is awesome. I decided on the area I mentioned earlier, as it was in a large oak forest, had a wide river biome running between it, and it also opened up to an ocean with a beach where there were also rare Pokemon I needed to find. After finally settling on a place to build my lab, I caught a Skrelp before getting started on clearing some trees and building my lab. After setting up a temporary storage area, I caught another Chespin before continuing on with construction through the night, where I also caught an Abra and an Ekans. I spent the better part of the next 6 Minecraft days messing with the overall layout of the lab before settling on a pretty simple design. I wanted the building to kind of feel like it could be part of a Pokemon game, so I shaped it to kind of resemble a Pokemon Center. I said kind of. I placed a wooden Pokeball pattern on the floor to try and stay on that theme. I wanted the pattern to show up on the map without having to put it on the roof as well, so I grabbed some sand to make glass so I could put a skylight in instead. I added a healing center with a PC behind a counter to mimic the inside of a Pokemon Center and decorated that with some flower pots. I then decided I wanted to add an actual laboratory below the main floor where I could have my fossil restoration station alongside a display room for all the cool and unique Pokemon items I found during my journey. So I started building the staircase down and clearing out an area for that. During the time I spent building my lab, I only found 3 new Pokemon, Ninetales, Whirlipede, and a Pumpkaboo to bring my total to 347. After building the staircase down into what will eventually be my fossil lab, I knew I wanted to make the walls, floors, and ceilings primarily white. I didn't want to have to mine a ton of quartz in the nether to make quartz blocks for the entirety of the room, so I decided on using calcite instead. I looked on the map for any chunks of calcite I could see and went on a little journey to get some. While I was out getting calcite, I caught a Berserker, a Mr. Mime, and a Mastiff to bring my total to 350. Once I returned to the lab, I realized I wasn't able to turn the calcite I'd collected into a polished version with a stone cutter or furnace like I had planned. That's when I remembered I could make white concrete out of sand, gravel, and white dye, so I went to the dark forest biome from earlier to grab some gravel and sand. While I was there, I managed to get a Mimikyu, another ghost-type Pokemon I hadn't caught yet. I returned to the lab to continue digging out the lower area before catching a Rowlet that spawned in the forest outside. After mining out more of the fossil room, I grabbed some basalt from the nether to use as pillars to offset the plain white concrete. I spent a lot of time going back and forth between my lab and the nether, gathering materials while also digging out and building more of the lab. I also had to make a quick stop at the caves near the apricorn farm to mine redstone to make the redstone lamps. While I was down there, I managed to catch a Sableye as well. On my next visit to the nether gathering materials, I finally found a Pokemon I had looked for before but was never able to find.
No way. No way, let's go. Nice. Let's go.
I also caught a Salazzle shortly after to bring the total to 355. On day 86, I evolved the Charmander I caught into Charmeleon and gave it the EXP share. I was also able to catch a Lilligant and a Yanma. After spending some time leveling Charmeleon up around the Apricorn farm, I was able to evolve it into a Charizard before also catching a Sudowoodo later on. Back at the lab, I started working on decorating the display room and fossil restoration area by placing some of the Pokemon-themed decorative pots I had been collecting throughout my travels. I also crafted my first few display cases that I'd put in the room below. Over the next few days, I spent some time digging out the remainder of the basement area and worked on filling in the walls of the display room and fossil lab. During those days, the only new Pokemon I managed to catch was a Golbat. At the end of day 90, another new ultra-rare Pokemon spawned.
Yo, let's go. Yeah, there we are, Sobble. Awesome.
With 2 new ultra-rare spawns added since I started working on my lab, my plan of building in an area where I needed a bunch of the rare Pokemon was working. The back and forth between the nether for quartz to use in the ceiling as well as the caves near the Apricorn farm for redstone continued. During this time, I caught a Shiftry, Glimmet, and a Roggenrola before filling in the rest of my ceiling lights.
That looks good, right? Yeah, that looks pretty good.
That same day, I found out I could shear sheep Pokemon, which is so cool to me, I don't know why, it just is. I went around shearing Pokemon and sheep to make red carpets to place on the lab and display room floor. I then started building display tables and shelves where I could place all the display cases I was about to make. I spent the night crafting display cases before running into a Porygon, a Pokemon that only spawns in the vicinity of a PC. After catching the Porygon, I also wandered into a shiny Caterpie.
Oh, that is cool.
I spent most of the next day filling up the display room before catching a Trevenant in the evening. Over the next few days, I got busy doing a bunch of things again. I went to the jungle to clear out some trees and caught a Leafeon.
Nice.
I also started hunting Abra at night for ender pearls and caught a Clefable as well. I searched around for fossil structures and dig sites and managed to find a couple I hadn't dug up yet.
Awesome.
A plume fossil and an old amber.
No way.
In the Yellowstone biome, I came across a wild Ursaluna, which I was able to catch to bring my total to 370 Pokemon. I thought the biome was neat, so I left a waystone here in case I ever wanted to quickly travel back to the Yellowstone area. On the evening of day 99, I started the revival process on the plume fossil I had recently acquired and placed a PC beside the fossil restoration machine.
Oh man, look at that. Wow.
With the sun rising on my 100th day in the game, I took a minute to take a quick walk through the lab I had just built before adding Archon to my total.
Neat.
Later in the day, I caught a Rabombi before grabbing all the fossil Pokemon I had revived so far to start leveling them up. Because I needed a few Pokemon from the cold and ocean biome still, I started leveling around the cold ocean outpost where I caught a Seal, Shelder, and a Chimecho to bring the total to 375. I then made my way back to the jungle outpost once again. Here is where I started a long streak of days where I just leveled and evolved Pokemon while catching anything I didn't have yet if I came across it. Over the next 6 to 7 days, I added these Pokemon to my total. Archeops, Omastar, Pinsir, Typhlosion, Tyrantrum, Hariyama, Lairon, Hippowdon, Seadra, Parasect, Zoroark, Shinx, Apoplio that I almost missed, Crocodile, Thwackey, Aggron, Girder, Nidorina, Pignite, Emboar, Rillaboom, Kadabra, Victreebel, Drizzile, Dartrix, Decidueye, Brionne, Primarina, Inteleon, Kirlia, Luxio, Clodsire, Luxray, Gardevoir, Goomy, Weezing, Kricketot, Whiscash, Bibarel, Conkeldurr, Wimpod, Dracloak, Smoochum, and a Herdier to bring my total all the way up to 419 Pokemon. Through the next couple of days, I spent most of my time exploring the world, looking for new biomes and fossil structures. I also caught a Spiritomb, which I hadn't seen yet, and man, does this thing look cool. On day 111, I evolved my Cleffa into a Pippi. I also caught a Riolu, which I was really pumped to encounter.
Catch right now. Cool.
I battled a Haunter later on that dropped a Skeleton Skull, which I had not seen before. I evolved my Clink into Clang, and finally caught a Ferrothorn, bringing my total for now to 424 Pokemon. I explored some Sakura Grove and Sakura Valley biomes where I found another Riolu as well as a Hisuian Goomy. On the side of a mountain, I found a temple-like structure sticking out of a large cavern. I checked it out, and on the inside was another legendary beacon shrine. I didn't have any use for it at the moment, so I healed up at the Pokemon Center in a village below, before placing a waystone to fast travel back to later. Upon returning to the lab, I remembered I wanted to start a berry farm somewhere, and figured the Sakura Valley I was just in would make a great place for just that. Since there were ultra-rare Pokemon like Turtwig and Chikorita that can spawn in that biome that I still need to catch, I figured I could use the same plan as with the lab and build while waiting for Pokemon to spawn. I guess in this case, I'd be farming really, not building, but you get the idea. I fast traveled back to the Sakura Grove and started clearing an area down by the water where I could start planting my berries. I went back to the Apricorn farm to drop off all the items that I collected in my inventory before transferring all the berries I had at that point to the berry farm. Somewhere along the way, I noticed I picked up an extra satchel. I don't really know where, but I have that now, so yay! One aspect of Cobblemon that I skipped over explaining earlier in the video was berry farming. In the 1.4 Friends and Farms update, 69 unique berries were added that can be obtained through different methods, and if you manage to collect them all, you get a rare achievement for doing so. I'm not going to go over obtaining every single berry or how I went about the whole berry farming process, as it would just add another 20 to 30 minutes to an already long video. But if it interests you, let me know in the comments down below, and I can maybe make a separate video about it in the future. After moving all 22 of the berries I collected at this point, I continued terraforming the land where I would eventually plant my berry crops. During this process, I found another Cyndaquil, which was cool, and also crafted a Soothe Bell, which I gave to Riolu to help raise its friendship faster, since it's one of a handful of Pokemon that requires max friendship to be able to evolve. I crafted a Diamond Hoe to leave at the berry farm, and started putting down fences and pathways before finally getting around to planting some berries. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing at first, I just knew I wanted to get access to citrus, lum, and lepa berries for making vitamins and potions in the future. I also started crafting different types of mulch to help speed up the growing and mutation process. A few days after starting the berry farm, I ended up finding another Sobble chilling in the river, and on day 120, I evolved Clang into Klinklang, Poochyena into Mightyena, and Stine into Serena to bring my total to 427. The next day, I finally got a citrus berry to successfully mutate, which I can use to brew Pokemon potions. Up until day 122, I had pretty much spent all my time focused on berry farming and found a Milcery roaming around the area. After catching it, I looked up how to make a sweet item so I could evolve it into an Alcremie. Soon after I evolved Alcremie, I found yet another shiny Pokemon. Over the next few days, I continued working on my berry farm and evolved Riolu into Lucario, caught a Machamp and a Sirfetch'd, before finally redeeming myself on the Larvitar I botched earlier on.
You're right there. Come on. Let's go.
I spent the better part of the next 2 days sorting and organizing all my items into separate chests. I also caught another Eevee during this period, this time in a luxury ball for faster friendship gain. Soon after I was finished organizing, I caught a Blossom and a Vileplume before evolving Gumi into Sliggoo. I also started building a little dock area for farming along the edge of the river where I could plant all my other Cobblemon-based crops such as medicinal herbs, Vivichokes, and revival herbs. I evolved Dracloak into Dragapult and started working on leveling up Larvitar, which I evolved into Pupitar the next day. The next few days were mainly spent berry farming and leveling Pokemon, and I was able to add another group of Pokemon to my total. I evolved Sliggoo into Goodra, Yamper into Boltund, Whismur into Loudred and then Exploud. I caught a Snorlax after spending days raising my Munchlax's friendship. Cool. Very cool. Caught a Combee and a Hitmontop, evolved Venonat into Venomoth, and Pupitar into Tyranitar to bring my total to 447 Pokemon.
Yeah.
On day 139, I was checking out different flying Pokemon speeds and realized Crobat was much faster than Pidgeot, and unfortunately made the difficult but obvious decision to retire Zephyr for the rest of the playthrough in favor of Barbara. At the end of the day, I decided I wanted to find an ocean ruin so I could start catching some of the rarer Pokemon that spawn around them, like Relicanth, but mainly I'm referring to Dratini. I really want a Dragonite. Knowing I'd be in the ocean for a while, I crafted more Ultra and Quick Balls, and also some Dive Balls for any underwater Pokemon I came across before setting out to find an ocean ruin. After a short journey, I found the ocean ruin I was looking for and started catching Pokemon. I caught a Relicanth fairly quickly, as well as a Chinchou and a Kingdra, which was really cool to see spawn naturally. I spent another full day waiting for a Dratini, but nothing showed. I did, however, end up getting one of my Eevee's friendship high enough and was able to evolve it into an Umbreon at night.
Ooh.
After searching around for 4 days, I decided to head back to the lab and try again another time for Dratini. I expanded the dock area further before starting the restoration process on my root fossil. On day 145, I did a bunch of stuff around the lab, found another Eevee which I caught in a luxury ball again. I also evolved my Chinchou into Lantern before heading out on another adventure. I spent the next chunk of days exploring, looking for new biomes, fossil structures, and Pokemon. I managed to catch a Sigilyph at a jungle temple on day 146, and didn't catch anything else new till day 149, on which I caught a Duskull. I found another ocean ruin soon after, and caught a Love Disc as well as a Clamperl, which I'll need 2 of for both of its evolutions. The following morning, I was able to evolve my Eevee into Espeon, as well as catch a Trapinch in the desert nearby. For the next 2 days, I traveled back and forth from the mainland to the ocean ruin looking for Dratini. I knew they spawned in the area, it was just a matter of waiting and having the necessary attention span. 2 days later, my patience was finally rewarded. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Where are you? Oh. I was looking at my phone. I didn't think it was going to happen. Okay. Yeah, not a big deal. Not a big deal. After catching Dratini, I encountered a desert temple where I was able to catch a Yamask before coming across another weird desert villa type building where I picked up another link cable. While traveling around, I came across another shiny Pokemon. This time it was a shiny Spupa, which I was able to add to my surprisingly fast-growing collection of shinies. After searching a bunch of fossil sites for new fossils and only coming up with duplicates, I was able to find one of my favorite fossils, the Skull Fossil. I also looted another Gimmighoul tower before taking its waystone back to the lab, where I grabbed the Lileep I started reviving back on day 144. Boom. At the berry farm on day 155, I continued on with my goal of attaining every berry available in the game and realized I had maybe spent too much time staring at berries over the last few sessions. Blackberry, Lepa berry. Love the citrus berries, those are important. That's a Pasho berry. Chillon berries, right? Yep. Rindo berry. Blackberry. Blackberry. Cornberry. That is a Babiri berry. Yeah. While I was here, a rare Pokemon spawned in the river. You know what? Oh, no! No, man! Oh my god, are you kidding me right now? A Frogadier. I can't stress how lucky and unlucky this is. Still needing to find a Froakie, I evolved the Frogadier into Greninja right away and went to the lab to start reviving my newly acquired Skull Fossil. A whole stack of Oranberries? While that revival process was starting, I ventured back into the Nether to grab a few things. While I was there, I evolved my Dratini into Dragonair, caught Mismagius, evolved Trapinch into Vibrava, evolved Yamask into Cofagrigus, and also caught a Morgrem to bring my total to 468 Pokemon. When it comes to starter Pokemon, as I mentioned, they tend to share spawn buckets with other starter Pokemon. In almost every scenario this is the case, but in the Warped Forest biome, there's only one that can spawn, Sprigatito. Since I was here, I decided I'd wait around for one to spawn. To my surprise, I got a rare spawn, but it wasn't the Pokemon I was looking for. No way. I want to do the resource packs, and I want to put that in, I believe, wait, that, done. Ah, sick. I'm going to throw a quick ball. A little more, okay, 1% flame burst. That's going to do damage, okay. Okay, this is not good. That did not work. This is it. This is it. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes! Let's go. Oh my god. Not the one we came for, but we'll take it. We will take it. Just like Jirachi, Victini is added through the Legendary Encounters mod and isn't in the base Cobblemon mod. So because of this, it won't count towards the goal total, but it's still really cool to catch. After catching Victini, I ventured back to the lab to check it out, where I was able to catch a Cleavor as well. I then went to the Apricorn farm to grab some Apricorns to make more Pokeballs, where luckily I ran into another starter that I didn't have yet. Score Bunny. Once I caught the Score Bunny, I fast traveled back to the lab, where I waited for Cranidos to finish reviving before grabbing it and starting the process once again with the old Amber. While that was going on, I went back to the Warped Forest in the Nether to finally get Sprigatito, and it did not take long at all to show up. Revoked. Yo, there we go! Sprigatito! Oh, I thought that was a Rockruff for a second. Beautiful, Sprigatito. On my way back to the overworld, I grabbed a Gliscor as well before taking my Waystone back to the lab. I also found a Raichu running around in the moonlight before coming across a discolored Hoothoot down by the river. Cool! With the sun rising on the next day, I harvested my crops before heading down and grabbing my new Aerodactyl.
Aerodactyl has been added to your PC. Is he big? Oh, he's huge. Oh, he's so cool.
After checking it out and crafting some PP ups, I also evolved my Duskull into Dusclops and then into Dusknoir immediately after, which is one of my favorite Pokemon.
Boom. What a sick Pokemon, man. I love this Pokemon so much.
The next day, I started leveling up Sprigatito and evolved it into Florigato. Soon after, I evolved Florigato into Meowscarada and my Vibrava into Flygon to bring my total to 480 Pokemon. The following days were another wave of somewhat busy as well as all over the place. I caught a wild Florges? Florges? I don't know how to say that. I also evolved my Cranidos into Rampardos before going back to berry farming for another day. On day 167, I caught a Bonsly, and then while my recording was paused, Turtwig finally spawned near the lab.
Please. Oh my god. I was not ready for this.
Yes! Finally! I'd like to thank my girlfriend for reminding me my recording was paused. If she hadn't, I wouldn't have had this catch recorded. After catching Turtwig, I evolved Scorbunny into Raboot and then into Cinderace before starting to level up Turtwig. I forgot about Pokemon being able to sit on your shoulder, but look at him! I evolved Turtwig into Grotle, Laleep into Cradilly, and then Grotle into Torterra before also evolving Tyrogue into Hitmonchan as well as Hitmonlee later on at the berry farm to bring me to 491. After 4 days passed of just straight berrying, I found a wild Wigglytuff on day 172 chilling on the beach looking at the sunrise. The following day, I was able to evolve Knackley into Knacklestack and Morgrem into Grimmsnarl. On day 174, I headed back to the jungle to continue my hunt for any other ultra-rare jungle spawns I didn't have yet, which is basically all of them at this point. I evolved Whirlipede into Scolipede and finally evolved Dragonair into Dragonite, something I had been waiting a while for. Everyone say hi to Melvin! I then evolved Knacklestack into Garganicle and Dwebble into Crustle. At this point in the challenge, I had spent a lot of time in the jungle searching for one of Bulbasaur, Snivy, Litten, or Jangmo-o. When you spend as much time as I have looking for one of them with no results, you kind of start to doubt your methods. I knew the Pokemon I was looking for definitely spawned here, but maybe I was doing something wrong? Just as I was about to take another leave from the jungle and head back to the lab, I caught a break.
No way. Oh my god. I was literally just about to leave. There you are. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Beautiful.
With another ultra-rare jungle spawn crossed off the list, I decided to give myself what I thought would be a nice mental break. I got back to the lab and prepared to head out on a journey to find more of the fossils I hadn't found yet. Soon after heading out from the Apricorn farm, I came across a weird entranceway with a ladder sticking out of the ground. I descended down to investigate the ruined structure and then...
Oh my god.
For whatever reason, I spawned all the way back at the little spawn island I started at and had to fly all the way back to collect my belongings. Thankfully, I was able to grab everything and continued exploring the ruin far more carefully than I was before. There were similar items to the other ruins I had been coming across, like the Gimmighoul coins, type gems, and other interesting Pokemon items buried in the gravel. After finishing up here and collecting what I could, I came across a swamp house thing where I was able to catch a wild Roserade, which ended up being my 500th Pokemon in the challenge. After 177 days, I had only 125 Pokemon remaining. I didn't know it yet, but unfortunately for me, I wasn't even at the halfway point when it came to actual days remaining. How was that even possible? Continuing on with my goal of looking for more fossils, on day 178 I found my first fossilized Drake, followed by another duplicate Old Amber. The next day I was able to evolve my Snivy into a Servine and then a Superior before coming across a cool village in the desert where I also found a Skarmory to bring my total to 503 Pokemon. I also found a fossil structure on the edge of town where I was able to excavate a shield fossil. I picked up another link cable in one of the village chests and found a weird structure buried in the sand where I was able to grab more coins, gems, and pottery shards. While I was down there, another mysterious Pokemon appeared on the map.
What is that? Options, resource packs. What is that? I don't know. What do we think that is? 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 I think it's What is that? Jirachi? Another Jirachi?
After catching my second Jirachi of the world, I took a waystone back to the lab and dropped off all the loot I had collected before starting to revive my newly acquired shield fossil. While the restoration process was starting, I went out looking for even more fossils. This was also about the time I realized that each type of fossil structure only has the chance to contain a few different types of fossils. With this in mind, I realized that I want to be looking in cold and frozen ocean biomes for the next set of fossils I needed, the sail fossil and the fossilized fish. Found a bunch of Gimmighoul towers and other fossil sites where I excavated another old amber and some evolutionary stones before coming up on my first frozen fossil structure. Before digging out the structure, I caught a wild tatsugiri that I saw spawn on the map. While excavating the dig site, I was able to not only find a fossilized dino, but a sail fossil as well, which knocks another 2 fossils off the list in one go.
Oh my god. A sail fossil. That's a sail fossil. That's a sail fossil. Oh boy.
Shortly after, I stumbled into a deep dark biome attached to a lush cave. As I ventured further into the cave, I ended up finding a mine shaft where I was able to catch a boulder. I found one more Gimmighoul tower on the way home with a chest I was able to loot before heading back to the lab to drop off all the new stuff I'd collected. I stood in the display room waiting for the Shieldon to finish reviving before grabbing it, leveling it up, and evolving it into a Bastiodon. Later that day, I also caught a Cetitan before catching a shiny Apom, a Gorgeist, as well as the Amora, which had finished reviving, before heading to the jungle to level it and look for more ultra-rare spawns. While grinding in the jungle, I of course found another Snivy before evolving my Amora into Auroras at nighttime to bring my total to 511 Pokemon. The next 7 days in the jungle were just a string of disappointments, one after the other. Though I managed to get a bunch of ultra-rare jungle spawns, none of them were the ones that I wanted, or even more so needed.
No tree spawns. No tree spawns. Bro, by the time I'm done in here... Oh. I don't want to see any treetops. This is what happens. This is what happens. Litten and Bulbasaur don't want to show up. This is what happens. I can't be held accountable for this. On day 195, I will not be held accountable. I'm done being the guy who gets pushed around by these beings that don't even have the nerve to show face. I show face. And for them to do this and to laugh from the bushes, try laughing from the bushes now. They're gone. They don't exist. Your home is gone.
I took your stuff. How's that make you feel? Because that's how I feel!
With day 200 on the horizon and Bulbasaur and his compatriots once again evading me, I thought I'd make the double century mark an event by evolving a bunch of Pokemon. So I journeyed back to the lab, got a bunch of my evolution items ready to go, and did just that. On day 200, I added Magmortar, Electivire, Poliwrath, Politoed, Cerulege, Nidoking and Nidoqueen, Steelix, Arcanine, Lombre, which I apparently missed catching at some point. I evolved Lombre into Ludicolo, as well as Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon, and Glaceon to bring my total to 526 Pokemon. Only 99 left. With all the trade, item, and stone evolution Pokemon evolved that I could, it was time to get back to work in the jungle. I needed to be done in the jungle. It was killing me. In the following days, I evolved my Kadabra into Alakazam because I forgot to do it before. I also found another Grookey, as well as another Snivy a few days later. Cool. I crafted more Ultra Balls and evolved my last Eevee to get Sylveon to complete my collection of evolutions on day 207. The following day, I saw another rainbow with Melvin and knew something I wanted was bound to spawn soon. And boy, was I right.
Yo! Oh my god. There we go.
Though I was excited about crossing off another ultra-rare jungle spawn, the next 9 days were nothing short of painful.
Are you kidding me right now? God. Why? Dude, what is going on? Dude, there's no way, man. There's no chance that we're getting this unlucky and lucky at the same time. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Thankfully, a shiny Mankey appeared during that time to ease the pain slightly, but I was still only going to be truly happy with either a Bulbasaur or a Litten. The days were quickly adding up, and after being in the longest stretch yet of this challenge without adding a new Pokemon to the total, my seemingly endless struggle was rewarded.
There's no way. Oh my god. Oh my god, where are you? Where are you? Oh my god. Look at you. Look at you. Let's go.
Finally, I had caught the one jungle Pokemon I had been looking for since day 41. With Bulbasaur out of the way, there was only one more jungle Pokemon remaining. Litten. After spending nearly 20 straight Minecraft days looking for that Bulbasaur, I thought it would be a good idea to hunt another starter in a biome that I hadn't spent too much time in. So, I traveled to the mangrove swamp in search of Totodile. On day 220, I was able to catch Yanmega to bring my total to 531 Pokemon. But then... disaster. I just didn't know it yet. While up late finishing a lengthy recording session, my game crashed. Since it was late, or I guess early in the morning, I decided to just continue recording the next day. However, when I went to load up the world, I was met with this message. Invalid player data. At the last point of the video, my PC ran out of storage and stopped the recording on its own, but I was able to continue playing for another 2 Minecraft days before the game crashed too. I looked into it online, and from what I could find, it seems to happen to a lot of other players regularly when playing modded versions of Minecraft. Though it appears to be a frequent occurrence, there was no suggested fixes on any forums or comment sections anywhere. Every time I loaded the world, I was met with the same invalid player data error message. I could load the world without any of my items or without the Cobblemon mod installed, but what was the point of that? After moving some files and folders back and forth, I was able to load my player party and Pokemon storage data onto a copy of my world seed and was able to see all of my Pokemon. After creating a new world using the same seed and copying a bunch of folders from the old world into the new world folder, like my Cobblemon party and PC storage info, player data, level data, minimap info, waystone info, and my day counter info, I had basically recreated my original world in a new folder. The most important aspects of my world, like my lab, farms, and most importantly, my Pokemon storage, were all there, and that was all that mattered to me. I'm still not quite sure what caused my world to corrupt. I don't know, I'll probably never know for sure, and I really don't care. With that unfortunate series of events behind me, I guess I should recap what happened during the 2 Minecraft days I was never able to record. After catching the Yanmega, I was able to find the Totodile I went looking for in not a lot of time. I also evolved my Bulbasaur into Ivysaur and then into Venusaur before evolving Totodile into Croconaw and then Feraligatr. Finally, I caught a Varoom just inside one of the Pokemon villages and caught a Salandit in a mantle cave to bring my total number of Pokemon to 538 on day 222. The last thing I did before the game crashed, funny enough, was collect the final berry to get the achievement for getting every type of berry in the game. Luckily enough, or not, depending on how you look at it, I was unable to save my achievement data, so I'll still be able to get the achievement on camera later on. As I was preparing to get back into it, a really rare and cool spawn occurred in the river.
What is that? Psyduck? It's not a Psyduck. What are you? No way! What? There's a wild Blastoise here? Are you serious right now?
For what it's worth, I believe the chance of that Blastoise spawning is less than 0.001%. On day 224, I continued evolving Pokemon and added Revavroom and Aegislash to the total. I also evolved my shiny Aipom into Ambipom, as well as my shiny Hoot into Noctowl. I also took the time to head back to the berry farm and get the achievement for collecting all the berries once again.
Funny enough, it's an Oranberry. Oranberry is the only Oranberry and a Raspberry, the only berries we did not have them in those chests. So when I reacquired them in my inventory, here we go. The Oranberry is our 69th and final berry to get the achievement. There it is. Oh, oops, all berries. Yay.
Afterwards, I decided that with my world back, I was going to stop wasting time and put my nose to the grindstone and really get after my challenge. My first task was going to be trying to put a dent in the remainder of the ocean-based Pokemon. I enchanted a diamond helmet with aqua affinity and brewed some potions of water breathing so I could also look for underwater fossil structures. After setting out on my next journey, I managed to quickly catch a Whalmer as well as an Alomomola before coming up on my first and sadly only underwater fossil structure of the world. While I was excavating it, I was able to grab a cover fossil as well as a deep sea tooth for evolving Clamperl. I later caught a Delmise while checking out a shipwreck before discovering a floating chain of islands above the ocean. After finding nothing of real value up there, I started to make my way back to the lab, where upon arrival, I started reviving the cover fossil I had just obtained before evolving Clampearl into Huntail. While the restoration process was going, I went out to the rivers to start looking for some of the ultra-rare river spawns. Like Froakie and Quaxley, I still needed to hunt them along with a few other remaining starter Pokemon. While looking around, I was able to level up my Wailmer and evolved it into a Wailord. I also checked a few of the rivers I had been to, but had no luck finding anything. The next day, I was able to evolve Glimmet into Glamora to bring my total to 546 before encountering yet another shiny Pokemon.
Are you serious? Man, I never would have guessed that.
A few days later, I was back to pick up the Tortuga that had been reviving and started the revival phase with the fossilized bird and Drake fossils. On day 232, I was back in the jungle to try and grab Litten, where I ended up evolving my Tortuga into Caracosta. Shortly after, I ran into, get this,
Dude, are you for real right now?
another Snivy, and then,
Dude, there's no way. There's another Bulbasaur? Oh my god. Are you for real? Where are you? Look at you. Dude, I'd actually lose my mind if that was our only Bulbasaur. I would have freaked out.
later that same day, I ended up evolving my Smoochum into Jinx to bring my total to 549 Pokemon. Looking at my list of remaining Pokemon, I noticed there were a handful of Pokemon that only spawned under specific conditions or in unique areas. For example, Magnemite, which I believe only spawns around redstone objects, Dino in the deep dark and ancient cities, Baltoy and Larvesta in desert temples, Happiny in urban areas and around villages, and Golett in a bunch of those same areas. With that in mind, I decided to start looking around villages for Happiny first. I added an LGM, evolved Tinkatuff into Tinkaton, caught Muck and Magnemite, which I evolved into Magneton and Magnezone right after. In the following days, I evolved a Slowpoke into Slowking, Porygon into Porygon 2, and I also managed to catch the Golett I had recently talked about. Here, I was able to catch another ultra-rare starter Pokemon in Fennekin, which took me no time at all.
Oh, no way. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. That was so fast. Where are you? There you are. Very good.
I was also able to catch a Phalanx and evolve Flittle into a Spathra to bring my total to 561.
Interesting.
I spent a bit of time farming Sigilyph once I realized they dropped Ender Pearls, before evolving Elgium into Behiam, Fennekin into Brazen and then Delphox, as well as Golett into Golurk to bring me to 565 Pokemon.
Way bigger than I thought he was going to be. Oh my god.
Only 60 Pokemon left. I also ended up finding a Baltoy later on, which I evolved into Claydol right after, before heading back to the lab to pick up my newly restored Dracozolt. I then started the revival process once again by putting the fossilized Dino and Bird into the fossil restoration machine together. While back at the lab, I also evolved Herdier into Stoutland and Ghastly into Haunter before heading out to the Cold Ocean Outpost to grab a Cryogonal that I forgot to catch when I was out there way back when. Unbelievably, I encountered another wild Frogadier, which immediately became a Greninja. While still at the lab, I decided to cross a few more item evolutions off my list. I crafted a Protector and used a link cable to evolve Rhydon into Rhyperior, used an Ice Stone to evolve Crabrawler into Crabominable, and another link cable to evolve Boldore into Gigalith. I then went down to the display room and fossil area to pick up my newly revived Arctozolt to bring my total to 575. Only 50 Pokemon remaining. As I was coming up to the 600 Pokemon mark and looking at what I still had to catch, it kind of dawned on me that I only really had to catch about a third to half of the remaining Pokemon. The majority of the remaining total were evolutions. Like, when you stop and think about it, there are 5 full starter lines remaining, each with 3 Pokemon belonging to them, which equals half of the remaining Pokemon total. With that in mind, I started to get excited and really wanted to get going on crossing the remaining 50 Pokemon off as quickly as possible. I noticed I still needed to catch a Litwick, and since those only spawn in the Nether around Soulfire, I traveled to a Soul Sand Valley where I was able to find one in not much time. While I was looking for fossils in the Badlands, I also encountered one of the remaining starter Pokemon I needed. Yeah, there we go. We got it. 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 There he is. There he is. There he is. Let's go, you little Oh, he's so stupid. I love you. After heading back to the lab, I evolved Tway Coco into Crocolore and brewed some more water-breathing potions to go looking for more underwater fossil sites. While I was out looking for those fossil sites, I evolved my Crocolore into Skeledirge to bring my total to 580. I ended up coming across a frozen fossil site which had the possibility of containing some of the fossils I needed. This one had a fossilized dino, which I did need another one of, but I was still a little disappointed I wasn't able to get anything completely new. On day 252, I dropped off all my loot at the lab and realized just like flying Pokemon have different travel speeds, so do the surfing Pokemon. I tried out a few different options for faster traveling, and to no one's surprise, Sharpedo was my best option of the subjects when it came to pure speed. I went out looking for more underwater fossil sites in the ocean, like the one I found the cover fossil in, but I had no luck at all. I did manage to catch a Gorbis, however, which saves me from having to use a deep sea scale to evolve a Clamperl, so that's a plus. I ended up searching the ocean floor for about 2 in-game days before returning home fossilless once again, and for the first time in a while, slightly discouraged. In the coming days, I ended up finding another Rowlet, which I caught, and thankfully, a dome fossil, which I hadn't found yet. I spent a bunch of time looking for a dripstone oasis in lush caves because the wiki said that's where claw fossils can be found apparently. I also happened to come across a rare pink Mareep. Yo. On day 258, I started reviving the dome fossil, and once it was finished, I grabbed Kabuto the next day. I went back out to the cold ocean biome to search for frozen fossils, and ended up finding a fossilized fish which I needed for one of the 3 remaining fossil Pokemon. Well, technically I need 2 more fossilized fish, but I was happy to get one out of the way nonetheless. The following day, while I was out searching for fossils, I managed to get a Razor Claw off a wild Meowth, which is huge because I needed one to evolve Sneasel into Weavile. There we go, we got the Razor Claw, perfect. Soon after, I also caught a Sneasel to evolve into the Weavile I still needed, but I'm not counting this as a new capture since I already counted the Hisuian Sneasel earlier in this challenge. Afterwards, I made my way back to the lab on day 265 to evolve Kabuto into Kabutops and Sneasel into Weavile before picking up Dracovish from the fossil chamber to bring my total to 585.
Why are you so big? Oh my god.
On day 266, I started my next recording session in a village where I had been trying to find Happiny. To my surprise, I was able to get one like 2 minutes into my recording.
Let's go! Let's go! Oh, finally. Dude, that was so fast. We started recording, 2 minutes ago? Let's go.
I immediately evolved it into a Chansey using the Oval Stone, and then used a bunch of the friendship-raising berries I had farmed to evolve the Chansey into a Blissey to bring my total to 588.
Yeah, boom, we cheat the system. Blissey, yeah. Beautiful.
On day 268, I decided I was finally going to bite the bullet seed and get the last jungle Pokemon I needed. Litten. That was a good little Pokemon pun, eh? Yeah? Yeah, you liked it. Yeah, alright. I'm not exactly sure how much time in-game I had spent flying back and forth through jungle biomes at this point. I know I could check the recordings if I really wanted to know for sure, but if I had to hazard a guess, I'd probably estimate somewhere between 12 to 15 real-time hours. I know, that sounds crazy when you hear it. How can you spend that much time waiting for Pokemon to spawn, you may ask? Well, don't forget, I also spent a good chunk of that time leveling and evolving Pokemon I had already caught, as well as just catching Pokemon I still needed earlier on. So it wasn't all just mindless waiting. Only most of it. A couple more days had passed, and I was trying to mentally prepare myself for the nightmare this Pokemon was about to unleash on me. I was ready for the flood of Grookeys, Snivies, and I'm sure now Bulbasaurs that were going to start spawning constantly. But then, on day 271, it finally happened.
Oh my god. Oh my god, where are you? Where are you? Is that what I think it is? Where are you? There you are. It's the last one. We're done. Let's go.
I immediately evolved Litten into Torracat, then Incineroar to bring my total to 591 Pokemon, leaving only a handful of starters still to be caught. Froakie, Chikorita, Oshawott, and Quaxley. Only 4. No, that's not bad. On day 273, I was finally able to find a claw fossil, which left me with only one more fossil to find. The fossilized fish. Again. I made my way back to the lab and started reviving the claw fossil the next day. Nothing of real importance happened over the next few days, but I did find an ancient city on day 277, which was pretty cool. On day 278, I ended up picking up my revived Anorith, leveled it up, and evolved it into Armaldo the following day while beachcombing for an Oshawott. On the days leading up to and through day 297, I didn't have any luck finding any new Pokemon, though I did find another Chespin, 2 Poplio, a Sobble, and an Alolan Raichu, which again doesn't count to the total because it's a regional variant. I couldn't find the Oshawott, Quaxley, or Froakie I was hoping for. On day 298, I decided I was going to find a stronghold in the end portal so that I could defeat the Ender Dragon to celebrate reaching day 300. Because we gotta celebrate something at this point. I ended up finding a stronghold located below the ocean floor a little ways north of my lab and spent about 20 minutes trying to locate the portal. Once I did, I placed the Eyes of Ender in the portal and jumped in to fight the Ender Dragon on day 299.
Cheating. Whoops. Oh shoot. Oh no, that's all of them. Great. Oh shoot. Oh man. Come on. So close. Oh shoot. Alright, here we go. It's gonna be it. Hello, yeah!
With the Ender Dragon defeated, just in time to ring in day 300, I realized I didn't bring anything to grab the Dragon Egg, which I'll need to summon one of the legendary Pokemon later on. After quickly grabbing a few things so I could get the egg, I got the achievement for successfully picking it up. While I was still in the end, I wanted to look around for a Pokemon that's supposed to spawn in this dimension. I'd since held off looking for it, since I thought I'd have an easier time finding it here than in the overworld, and I was right. My search didn't last too long, and I was able to find a Beldum. Beldum can spawn in the Rocky Mountain or any biome in the Peaks category as an ultra-rare spawn, but in the end, I believe it spawns as a rare or uncommon Pokemon. So if you're looking for one, I highly recommend you pick it up here instead.
There we go, a Beldum.
After a long-winded battle throwing 14 Ultra Balls, I was finally able to catch it. One word of advice, don't weaken it. It has takedown and will more than likely take itself out with recoil. I learned that the hard way. With Beldum caught, I had no further reason to be here for now, so I scooted back to the lab where I evolved it into Matang, leaving only 30 more Pokemon for me to obtain. The next Pokemon I wanted to cross off the list were the remaining Water-type starters, Froakie, Oshawott, and Quaxley. Since 2 of them spawn near rivers and the other spawns on a beach, I wanted to hunt them in an area where both biomes intersected, so I found a river that flowed out to a beach and started hunting there. On day 302, I caught a wild Dartrix, which I already have, but later on ran into a Pokemon I was not looking forward to going after in Basculegion. If you're not aware, in order to evolve Basculin into Basculegion, Basculin has to take 249 points of recoil damage without fainting. Thankfully, I was able to catch this Pokemon in the wild, avoiding the need to complete that task and bringing my total to 596 Pokemon. Over the next few days, I tried multiple strategies trying to get one of the 3 Pokemon to spawn, but was unsuccessful. On day 307, another Sobble spawned, which has the same spawn conditions as Froakie, so I knew at this point it was just a waiting game. While waiting, I managed to level my Matang high enough to evolve it into Metagross to bring my total to 597. Later that same day, I found a Rowlet, which signaled the start of the onslaught of duplicates I would catch in this area during the remainder of this challenge. An entire week later, I finally had one of the 3 Pokemon spawn for me, but...
No. Please be here. No. It spawned for like 2 seconds?
I guess the game realized how much I had struggled with ultra-rare spawns to this point, so it decided to reward me with another Oshawott spawn 2 days later, and this one I did not mess up. I immediately evolved it into Duat and then Samurott to bring me all the way to the 600 Pokemon milestone. I ended up taking a break from the river I'd spent over 2 in-game weeks at and traveled back to the ancient city I found earlier on to grab a dino. Later that same day, I had another Basculegion spawn in the river, which is kinda wild considering I hadn't seen one in over 300 days and now I found 2 in less than 20. On day 320, I traveled to a jungle temple to hunt Larvesta since I didn't have any luck finding one at the desert temple from earlier. Before long, I was able to get one to spawn and caught it to bring my total to 602. On my way back, I ended up finding a massive dripstone cave with another one of those shrine-type structures with a beacon inside. Once I arrived back at the lab, I decided to evolve a couple more Pokemon I'd been holding off on. The first of the two being Porygon Z because I just hadn't gotten around to crafting the Dubious Disc required to evolve my Porygon 2. Once that was complete, I moved on to the next one, finally evolving Gimmighoul into Goldengo. As I discussed earlier in the video, Gimmighoul requires you to give it 999 Gimmighoul coins in order to evolve it into Goldengo. I'd collected a ton of coins over the course of this challenge, and I think I had enough to do it earlier, but just never got around to doing so. So here it is, finally, the most tedious evolution in the entire game, Goldengo. The next Pokemon I wanted to grab that I hadn't really spent time looking for was Chikorita. Chikorita spawns in floral-type biomes, so I figured I'd look around for it in a meadow. After one day of looking, I managed to find another Sprigatito, and after 2, I was able to catch Chikorita on day 324, bringing me to 605 total Pokemon. 20 more.
Chikorita! Chikorita! Where are you? There you are! Oh my god! Let's go! Oh my god.
The next day, I evolved my Dino into Zvilus, and later took a quick trip out to the swamp to catch a Grimer, which I had somehow not caught to this point, despite spending quite a bit of time here. On day 327, I set out for a taiga biome to find a Duskstone, which I still needed to evolve Lampent into Chandelure. Thankfully, I was able to find one after searching for only a few minutes.
Somewhere, maybe. Hey! There we go! Chandelure, welcome to the team.
Later, I was able to evolve my Larvesta into Volcarona to bring my total to 608 Pokemon. On day 328, I was doing some final leveling and evolutions for Pokemon that still needed to be evolved, like my Chikorita, which I evolved into Bayleaf and then Meganium, as well as my Lampent into Chandelure using the Duskstone. One thing I'd forgotten I still needed was another fossilized fish so that I could restore the last fossil Pokemon. After wandering around in a lush cave, I found something I hadn't been able to find throughout the entire challenge. A prehistoric pond.
Whoa, wait a minute. This is what... Oh, shoot. Hold on. That's it. Oh my god, that's it. Let's go. Give me that now. Oh my god. Get me out of here.
With the last fossil in my grasp, I raced back to the lab to start reviving the final fossil Pokemon, and added Arctivish to my collection to bring my total to 612 Pokemon.
Alright, there we go. And with that, finally... Whoa! God, you're ugly. What are you? Ugh. God, that's awful.
On day 331, I was able to find a male Ralts, which I needed in order to evolve Kirlia into Gallade, since females are only able to evolve into Gardevoir. With the male Kirlia, I was able to evolve it into Gallade to bring my total to 613. Shortly after I added Gallade, I had the idea of traveling to the floating city from earlier on in the video in hopes of being able to find a Carbink. I figured since the caves probably didn't generate Deep Slate Diamond ore, I could maybe find one in the cave system up there. What I found was way, way better.
Yo, there's a Mew. Hold on, there's a Mew. There's a Mew. No. How do I get out of here? A Mew! Yo! Yo! Oh my god! Oh my god! No, okay, hold on. We need to find out what moves it has. No way! Let's go!
We got a Mew! Look at that! No way! Get out of here. It's not part of the challenge, and I had never planned on catching a Mew, but that was such a cool experience. I'm not sure what spawn conditions were met, but now that I have it, I'll be able to say I caught all 151 original Pokemon at the end of this challenge, which I think is pretty cool. After catching a Mew and checking it out back at the lab, I placed some diamond ore blocks I had picked up somewhere during my travels to try and see if Carbink would be allowed to spawn above ground. I tried to create the conditions, but later realized I couldn't do it above ground and moved down to the dripstone cave I came across earlier and tried it there. After placing the diamond ore underground and wandering around for a minute, Carbink spawned, allowing me to bring my total to 614 Pokemon. Later that same day, I started a small project to expand the edges of the river in hopes it would raise the chances of finding a Quaxley, since the Cobblemon wiki says it needs to be grounded in order to spawn. This didn't work, and I ended up finding yet another Rowlet instead. Skipping forward a few days, I had been spending more time near the river trying to find a Froakie and a Quaxley, but had no luck yet. I started filling in a bunch of the river surface with dirt here as well, since Quaxley can't spawn in water. With the river region only stretching a couple blocks inland, I figured my chances would increase a bit by doing this. I'm not sure it helped. Fortunately enough, after about 6 consecutive days searching for one of the two, I was finally able to catch one of them.
Oh my god. Let's go. Let's go. Where are you, Froakie, you little frog, you? See if we can't quick ball it. Boom.
Froakie brings me to 615 total Pokemon in this challenge, leaving only 10 uncaught Pokemon. Since I had already caught Frogadier and evolved it into Greninja, I didn't have to worry about leveling Froakie to evolve it at all. A few days later, I was able to finally evolve my Zvilas into Hydreigon to bring me to 616 Pokemon. This left me with only one more evolutionary line to obtain before I could summon and catch the remaining legendary Pokemon to complete my challenge. One more Pokemon that I have to hunt. One more ultra rare spawn. Quaxley. And let me tell you, it made me work for it.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
When I tell you this Pokemon took the longest to find, I mean the longest by a significant margin. After encountering and catching an absurd amount of duplicate starters, from a slew of Cyndaquil to a plethora of Poplio and every other Pokemon in between that could spawn in this area, I was finally able to encounter the final Pokemon. Yo! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! That's it. Get in the ball. Get in the ball. Get in the ball. We're done. We're done. That's it. We just gotta evolve it, and that's it. We don't have to find anything. We're done. No more. Niema. That's all, folks. Let's go! The best part about it is, it wasn't even close to where I was filling in the river for it. It was in the area I went downriver to reset the spawns in the area I thought it would be. Funny world, eh? Taking into consideration that I technically started hunting this Pokemon right after I caught the Froakie, it took me roughly 67 Minecraft days, a little over 22 real-time hours, and 1/6 of the total time it took me to catch and evolve everything else before this one Pokemon. What? That's not including the time I spent looking for it before it became the last Pokemon I had to hunt. So, please, if you made it this far and you enjoyed the content, please leave a like and subscribe if you can. This video took roughly 250 hours to make, and it might not sound like it right now, but I had a ton of fun recording and editing this project. I'd love to do more content like this in the future, so if it's something you'd like to see, it's just a nice easy way for you to show me you enjoyed it and want to see more from me in the future. So, go do it. Please? After picking up the Quaxley from my PC, I used my final candies to level it high enough to evolve it into Quaxwell and finally Quaquaval, bringing my total to 619 Pokemon caught, leaving only the 5 legendary Pokemon. But wait, you said there were a total of 625 Pokemon you had to catch in this challenge. If there's only 5 legendaries to catch, that'll only bring your total to 624. What gives? Well, there's a couple things. When I was checking Pokemon off my list, I apparently marked down Darmanitan at some point as caught when I shouldn't have, and I didn't notice until I was finishing up the editing process. The same thing goes for Murkrow. When writing the script for this video, I misremembered a clip in which I thought I caught it, and as it turned out, I never ended up catching it. Luckily, after a quick trip to the Nether, I was able to locate and catch a wild Darmanitan, while Murkrow gave me an easier go this time around. I also forgot to add Hakamo'o and Komo'o to the total when I evolved them earlier on as well. So that's 4 missing Pokemon, which when added to the total brings me to 623. Hold on, you said you needed to catch 625 Pokemon, and if you still need to catch the 5 legendary Pokemon... Yeah. I also counted Nidorino twice by accident. Same goes for Knucklestack. I counted them once as an evolution and once as a wild catch by accident. Same goes for Bonsly, which I recorded as a catch twice as well. What can I say? I'm not perfect. This challenge took a lot out of me, and hey, we move. So with all that mess out of the way, let's get into the finale of the video. As I've mentioned a few times already leading up to this point, the long-awaited finale of this journey of mine will be concluded by summoning, battling, and attempting to catch 5 legendary Pokemon. Not only will these legendaries be the strongest Pokemon that I've encountered yet, they'll only get more difficult too. Starting off with the legendary bird trio, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno, these Pokemon, like all of the legendary Pokemon, need to be summoned at shrines located in their respective biomes. Luckily enough, during my time playing and exploring my world, I was able to locate every shrine and left a marker for just this moment. The first of the bird trio I'm going to be summoning and challenging is Moltres. Moltres is a fire-type Pokemon and fittingly needs to be summoned in the Nether. In order to summon Moltres, I need to sacrifice 4 Firestones into the shrine to activate the beacon and conjure up the legendary bird.
It's Sunstones, it's not Firestones. That's embarrassing. Okay. Got it down here. Oh man, there it is. There we go. It's Moltres. Here we go. Ball swipe. Man, we're gonna try ball. We're gonna try ball. What? That's what I was worried about. Okay, that's what I was worried about. No. Gonna miss again. We missed twice. Don't. Come on. Why you missed 3 times? Dude. Oh no. No, not good. Oh. No. No. Oh my god, why did I think it was gonna happen? Have one more move? Actually, I don't know if we're living a heat wave in the sun. Come on. Let's go! Let's go! We got Moltres. We got Moltres.
With the first of the bird trio captured, I was that much closer to achieving my goal. 621 total Pokemon. 4 more. The next legendary bird I was going to take on was Zapdos. To summon Zapdos, the electric-type bird Pokemon, you again must sacrifice 4 stones to the shrine. This time, it's 4 Thunderstones.
3, 2, 1. Oh, man. And it starts storming? Are you kidding me? There we go. Come on. First ball. Oh, man, that's so cool. Oh. Okay, we got him. That was a little anticlimactic, but you know what? We'll take it. We'll take it.
2 down, 3 to go. The final of the bird trio is Articuno, my favorite of the 3. Articuno, like you could probably have guessed, needs to be summoned in a snowy plains biome, and like the others before it, you have to sacrifice 4 ice stones this time to summon it.
Hey, feel the air getting colder. Look at that. That's so cool. this one's going to be a little more difficult. Come on now. Come on, we're so close. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. 2 more, baby. 2 more and we're done.
With Articuno captured, I only had 2 more Pokemon to go. The next legendary Pokemon I'll be facing will be the highest level Pokemon I've encountered yet, and one of the strongest wild Pokemon you can battle in the main games, Mewtwo. For Mewtwo to be summoned, I'll need a very unique and very difficult to obtain item, a Nether Star. Unfortunately, since I'm playing with mobs turned off, I'm unable to defeat the Wither to get a Nether Star. However, I thought of this before starting the challenge and downloaded a data pack that alters the drop pools for some Pokemon. This makes it so that certain items you'd otherwise be unable to obtain are obtainable. So, what Pokemon drops Nether Stars? Well, Cleffa, Clefairy, and Clefable all have a very small chance to drop a Nether Star. And while I was waiting for Quaxley to spawn, I was luckily able to get the 1% drop from a Cleffa on day 360. Oh my god. With the Nether Star, I can now activate the beacon and battle Mewtwo.
Holy. Okay, we got it off. I'm gonna throw an Ultra Ball. Nope, didn't think so. Did not think so. Nope. Oh.
No.
1, 2, 3. Let's go! We got Mewtwo. Oh my god. We got Mewtwo.
With Mewtwo crossed off the list, there was only 1 more legendary to go. This Pokemon, however, was going to be way more powerful than the previous 4. Finally, I was here. Every struggle and battle I had faced has prepared me for this moment. With the Dragon Egg in hand, I faced the final shrine, prepared to summon the last legendary and the final Pokemon needed to complete my challenge. A level 100 Rayquaza. Rayquaza?
Rayquaza.
Whatever.
Boom. The last battle. Thunderwave. Please land. Huge, huge, massive. Outrage. There it is. Okay. So here's something I'm worried about now. Oh, we should have brought a fairy type. Okay, we might be in trouble here. And I didn't think this through. Outrage will confuse. Oh no. I'm gonna start hucking Ultra Balls. I have to. There's no way. Are you kidding me? That's how it ends? Oh my god. We're done. That's it. We're finished. Completely finished this time. Back to the lab. Oh, that's not... Okay. Well...
With Rayquaza captured, I had accomplished my goal of capturing every single Pokemon in Cobblemon. This challenge took significantly more time to complete than I had originally thought, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy every bit of it, even the low points. As I mentioned in my intro, this was genuinely one of the best Pokemon experiences I've had, and if you're a fan of the franchise, I highly recommend you check it out as well. I loved working on this project, and I'm looking forward to the next Cobblemon update, where hopefully I'll be able to jump back into this world and catch all the new Pokemon added when that releases. With that being said, this brings us to the end of this challenge and the end of this video. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like and comment down below and let me know what types of challenges you'd like to see in the future. Also, make sure to follow my Twitter for updates on upcoming projects. I'm going to try streaming my next one on Twitch, so I'll leave a link to both of those in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.